Welcome to Nightmare County. I'm your host, Randall M. Gould, and tonight we're going to talk about a kung fu cult classic called Five Deadly Venoms. Five Deadly Venoms came out in 1978 and was directed by the godfather of Hong Kong cinema, Chang Cheh, and it was produced and made by the Shaw brothers, who are known for making some of the most famous kung fu martial art flicks the world has ever seen, and would be an influence on everything that ever came after, especially from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, or early 80s. I saw this movie when I was at a young age, and I don't know how, I saw it by chance, I guess, or maybe it was fate. But we had, someone had recorded a bunch of movies onto blank tapes for my dad. They had taped a bunch of stuff from cable TV, and we didn't have cable TV at the time when I was young. We only had 3 channels, like ABC, CBS, and sometimes Fox. And, when you had to go outside and you had to turn the antenna, maybe pull up the channel and everything. But anyways, my dad, my dad's friend would give my dad a bunch of blank tapes, VHS tapes, and he would record stuff off of cable and everything. And on one of these tapes, there was several other martial art flicks, Enter the Dragon being one of them. And another one of my top 5 favorites, as well as Five Deadly Venoms. And whenever I saw Five Deadly Venoms, it was like watching Bruce Lee is a superhero. In my mind, he was, especially at a young age. But when I saw Five Deadly Venoms, it was like watching a group of superheroes or supervillains, because each of the martial artists had like such a distinct style and look to them, and I thought that was just awesome. And this predates, for me, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or anything like that, or even Ninja Turtles. So it was a very special film from whenever I saw it. I didn't even know what was really going on in the film, but all I know is it looked cool, what they did was cool, and I wanted to do it. Of course, I grew up loving, and it was due to these 2 films, Enter the Dragon and Five Deadly Venoms. And I would throw in movies like Enter the Ninja, American Ninja, and those flicks really are, I would say, even Lone Wolf McQuay with Chuck Norris. Those movies, when I saw those at a young age, I saw those before I saw Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, and many of the Shaw Brothers actors I had seen in all these flicks, like from the Venom Mob and everything, were big influences on me, especially on my love for martial art flicks. And so Five Deadly Venoms is always going to remain high up on that list for me. And this film doesn't even involve a lot of martial arts. There's maybe 20 minutes of any kind of fighting throughout the entire flick. But those 20 minutes are awesome. And of course, the people from this film, the Venom Mob, the cast of actors that are in this movie, they call them the Venom Mob. They've gone on and make other films like the Kid with the Golden Arm, which to me is another flick that would be my top 5 list, because it's just a fun movie to watch and has some of the best fight scenes of any martial arts flick, in my opinion. But I'll go off into that a little bit later on. But let's talk about Five Deadly Venoms. As I said before, Five Deadly Venoms was made in 1978 by Shaw Brothers Studios. It was directed by Chang Cheh, the godfather of Hong Kong cinema. The movie is about a dying master who sends his last student out to check upon his 5 former students, who each know a special style of kung fu. There's a funny thing about this flick, because even though it states that there are only, it's called Five Deadly Venoms, there's actually 8 total Venoms in the entire movie. The 6, 7, and 8, we actually don't know what they are, but it's kind of funny. When I was a kid, I used to like to think about how maybe these other Venoms were some other animal or insect or something that these characters would have. Their style would be influenced by whatever that animal was. But like I said, on 6, 7, 8, we don't actually know what they are. But 6 is the student. The 6th Venom is the student that's sent out to check on the other 5. The 7th Venom is actually the teacher who's dying, who is sending his student out and everything to check on the other 5. But that being said, you really don't know anything about those, so we're going to focus on the main 5. These are the main 5 Venoms in the flick. Number 1 is Scorpion, whose kick is as deadly as a scorpion's sting. And I always liked the look of the Scorpion. I mean, he had a cool look, and I was always obsessed with kicking and everything when it came to martial arts flicks. So anytime there's a lot of kicking by a certain actor, or especially one of the Venoms, I'm gonna favor them a little bit more over the others. Number 2 was Toad, whose skin is so tough that he can absorb any kind of punch, kick, or powerful blow. To me, I thought that was awesome. It would be so cool to have that kind of power where you can just toughen your skin up to where nothing hardly hurts you from on the outside. Number 3 was Centipede, who kicks and punches like he has 100 legs. That's how fast he is and everything. And I always thought that was cool as well. Number 4 is the Snake, who can paralyze an opponent by hitting certain acupuncture points. And if you really think about it, hitting an acupuncture point with enough force or precise blow can be very, very deadly. And number 5 is the Lizard, who, although not poisonous, can run up and down walls and do surprise attacks. So basically, if you've seen a lizard cling to a wall and run up and down, that's exactly what this one does. And that's really the 5 Deadly Venoms. They don't actually poison anybody, but they have such unique styles that were influenced by an animal and everything. And that's just one of the many cool things about this movie. This movie, it came out like at a really good time, whenever Shaw Brothers were dubbing their flicks for American other audiences and stuff, and these movies were premiering on cable TV and such, along with some of the others. This is one of the main ones that came out, and it caught audiences' attention like big time. They became like hits here in the States and stuff, and that's the reason why I think Five Deadly Venoms is one of the top martial art flicks, because it would help usher in and bring up people to love other kung fu flicks and stuff. But that being said, Chang Cheh was probably one of the best directors of that era, in my opinion. I mean, just to name a few, he directed One-Armed Swordsman, Vengeance, Heroes 2, Legend of 7 Golden Vampires, which was also co-produced with Hammer Film Productions, and stars Peter Cushing, which is a very fun flick. He also directed the Brave Archer, Kill with a Golden Arm, another complete favorite of mine, Flag of Iron, and probably one of my favorite ninja flicks, 5 Element Ninja. Cheh would go on to influence other famous directors like John Woo, who actually worked on some of his films, Ringo Lam, and Quentin Tarantino. And if you think about it, if it wasn't for him and these type of movies, you would not have probably several other famous action movie directors and stuff like that. And that's one of the cool things about Five Deadly Venoms. This movie had a big impact on me. Whenever I saw it as a kid, I would try to draw the one of the Venoms, and I would try to when I was by myself or whatever, I would try to do these martial art moves that I can never get off. But it influenced me to my love for martial art movies and stuff, and especially Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, who I would find later on with like Rumble in the Bronx, which would bring in, it would. What's cool about Jackie Chan was that Rumble in the Bronx brought people to know more about him here in the States, and it's like all of a sudden we got an onslaught of his older flicks that were being released on DVD or VHS there in the late 80s that we were able to find and see and everything, like Super Cop, Police Story, and everything. And that's what was cool. And it's like being a kid in the 90s, like being born in the 80s and then throughout the 90s having VHS and the arrival of DVD. It was a cool time because I can't imagine how hard it was to see some of these flicks, because especially when you live in an area like I lived in, where you didn't have access to a movie theater that would probably play these flicks. And that's what was a great thing, is I could go to the VHS store and they would have them, and I would rent anything that had Ninja in the title, anything that had Shaw Brothers on it, anything that had Bruce Lee on it, and I watched a lot of Bruceploitation flicks just because I thought Bruce Lee was going to be in it. Because when I was a kid, I never knew that Bruce Lee had died right after making after Enter the Dragon, right before the Enter the Dragon was released. And so I was watching all these other flicks thinking, man, Bruce Lee looks really different in this movie. And I come to find out, it's just, studios are using people who look just like him. And I have actually some favorite Bruceploitation flicks that I'll probably talk about in another video, because there's some really good ones that I think are worth watching, even though they're all play on Bruce Lee and everything. But that being said, I mean, if it wasn't, it was like the movies, video games, like Karate Kid, video games like Kung Fu, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat during the 90s, man. It was crazy, because like martial arts just hit like at a certain time for me and like some of my friends that were into this stuff and everything. And then I was given comic books by like my uncles and everything, and I still have them to this day. Which is, I was really excited whenever the Chang Cheh movie came out here this past year and everything, because I was such a big fan of the character. I mean, I still have this issue right here, if you can see it, because the light keeps catching on the plastic and everything. But it was the introduction of the cat, which I'm hoping when they make the sequel to Chang Cheh that they will introduce his nemesis, the cat, whom is one of my favorites. But I was just really big into martial arts, so I ate up anything that had Kung Fu or martial arts in the title. So I was a big fan of Chang Cheh, Iron Fist, totally, and Richard Dragon from DC. And of course Batman, because Batman did martial arts as well, and he was always featuring ninjas and martial artists in his comic book throughout his run and everything. So I really, really love martial art movies. And Five Deadly Venoms, I mean, I wouldn't have that poster if I wasn't a big fan of it, especially or Enter the Dragon. I got books. I got all kinds of stuff. I mean, I hate because I get too excited, but yeah, I grew up reading anything I could, Black Belt magazine, everything that I could that had martial arts. And it sucked because I really wanted to learn Kung Fu, Taekwondo, karate, and everything. But I lived in a part of East Texas that just did not have a studio or anyone who taught these martial arts around me. You would have to literally drive 3 to 4 hours away just to go to a place that probably taught it. And if you did catch somebody who taught it, a martial arts form near you, there was no guarantee they were actually proficient in a martial art and they weren't just doing it to make money. But that being said, it's like, I'd watch these movies and I'd do everything I could to repeat their moves. And so, I mean, yeah, I was raised on boxing, but until I had a box, but I want to learn martial arts. I want to do these kicks. I want to do these throws. I want to do these moves and everything, and learn the what it takes to make these to do all these things. But the movies were my escape into all that. And probably one of the best books that I've ever read. And I hate it because I was hoping this only covers the 1970s, but this book right here, The Ultimate Guide of Martial Art Movies from 1970s, is awesome because it covers a lot of the other studios other than the Shaw Brothers, like Golden Harvest and so on. Because there's a couple others that were made, and he does a great job of covering a lot of the flicks from the 70s, over 500, and he covers them pretty. The guy's Dr. Craig D. Reed. He does a great job of covering the flicks. He even dubbed a lot of the martial flicks as well, which is cool because he has a lot of insight into some of these movies. And this is a good book. So if you ever find The Ultimate Guide of Martial Art Movies of the 1970s by Dr. Craig D. Reed, I suggest you get it, especially if you love martial art flicks. And he kind of gives a review, goes over how much martial arts are actually in the movie, because sometimes some movies are just straight up dramas and maybe have like 2% martial arts. And you'll come to find out that a lot of Chuck Norris movies don't have a whole lot of martial arts in them. It's like, you might have 3 minutes worth of fights. And that's when that's what's funny is because I think Lone Wolf McQuade probably has like the most, or at the Octagon, and Lone Wolf McQuade with Chuck Norris probably the most fights in them. But I'm getting way off topic because I can talk about martial art flicks all dang day. But yeah, I love them. So I'm probably going to talk about these a lot more. I'm probably going to go into more depth about some obscure martial art flicks that I like to bring to light. I'm going to go off into ninja flicks because I love them. Sho Kosugi is one of my favorite actors, and of course he made some of the best ninja flicks of the 1980s. Like Pray for Death probably being one of my favorites, or Revenge of the Ninja. But I look forward to covering those and just talking about all this stuff. But that being said, I'm going to give a fair warning for the month of March. I am going to do I'm going to torture myself. I'm going to talk and review the Leprechaun movies for the month of March. And not only am I going to do the Leprechaun movies, I'm going to do other Leprechaun themed movies as well, like Unlucky Charms from Charles Band and Full Moon Studios, or features or whatever, and probably some classic ones as well, just for the month of March, St. Patrick's Day and everything. But yeah, I know that there are at least 3 good Leprechaun movies. I have never seen 4 in outer space. I stopped at 3 anyway, and this is years ago when they were on VHS. And I haven't seen them since. I haven't seen the remake. I haven't seen. I've seen Origins, which they tried to. I don't even think has a. It doesn't have anybody that looks like a leprechaun in it whatsoever. It's just a creature. I think, from what I remember of it, everything when it came out. I haven't seen the Leprechaun Returns, but I've seen 1, 2, and 3. I haven't seen Space. I haven't seen the ones where he's in the hood. So I'm looking forward to going off those flicks and talking about and reviewing them. And also during spring break, I'm going to have 2 special guests with me to help me talk and review one of those movies. And they will. So I'm looking forward to talking about that during the month of. I'll probably throw in some other flicks throughout that time, but the main videos from March are going to be focused on the Leprechaun movies. I'll probably do 1 to 2 a week to put them out for everyone to see. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, me talking about the 5 Deadly Venoms. I hope that maybe my enthusiasm for it and what I've shown you causes you to want to go out and see it. If you haven't seen it, it's a fun flick. You have to take it for what it is from its time period. It's not like the martial art flicks of today, of the Raid or anything, because everything was kind of like a dance in those flicks. So that everything was timed and everything. Whereas today, I just feel like, with the way they make film and everything today, martial art flicks are easier to make than they were back then. Because I can imagine having to record something and realize you messed up and you had to retake and everything. That would just be, oh man, I can imagine that. But yes, if you get a chance, you can find Five Deadly Venoms on Pluto. If you want to watch it for free, you can download the free app, Pluto TV, because I know for a fact that Five Deadly Venoms is on that. And if not, I'd find Five Deadly Venoms on Blu-ray. But that being said, I want to thank you for watching my video. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, as I greatly appreciate it. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram if you want to talk about martial art flicks. Well, by God, message me and we will talk about them, because I will talk your head off. Or you can talk my head off. Maybe you'll teach me something that I don't know. But that being said, I thank you, and don't be a stranger. Tune in.